This also caught my eye the other day. Okay, remember 3 years ago, not long after Hurricane Irma left parts of Miami, Florida underwater, the feds initiated a study to find a way to protect South Florida coast from the deadly and destructive storm surges that are becoming a normal, quote, quote, part of global warming. We've been warned about this for 30 years, maybe longer, and we've chosen to just fucking ignore it. I mean, it doesn't mean shit. It's not going to affect me. Now, no one likes the answer that the feds came up with, the federal government. They handed it off to the Army Corps of Engineers, which a lot of people see as the saviors of the environment. Other people see as the destroyers of the environment. I really don't have an opinion about the Army Corps of Engineers. I know they've done some good things and some really fucked up things, but let's let that for another day, that topic. So the Army Corps of Engineers came up with this for Miami. Build a wall. 6 miles of it, in fact, mostly inland, running parallel to the coast through neighborhoods, except for a 1 mile stretch right on Biscayne Bay, just past the gleaming sky rises of Brickell, the city's financial district. This was all in the New York Times the other day. Now, this proposal, which carried a price tag of around $6 billion, remains tentative. I mean, to build a wall like that, it would assume to me, is the first acknowledgement that the end is near. Seriously. And the wall is an attempt to stave off the end being near. Maybe push the end away a little bit, at least for the people of Miami. Huh? So this starting, well, it's tentative, the idea, and it's at least 5 years off. Nobody wants to do anything right now. But the startling suggestion of a 6 mile long massive seawall 20 feet high. Think about that. That's a 2-story building, almost 20 feet high. Cutting across Biscayne Bay was enough to get the attention of some of the people who live in Miami. There are hard choices, you see, that are now presenting to human beings all over the world. But this article focused on Miami. And these choices are going to be necessary to deal with, because the environmental challenges of ignoring anthropogenic climate disruption are here. They're here. It's happening now, goddammit. And the Christian fascists who run so much in this country and other countries refuse to face up to what we're facing. Christian fascists. A professor of atmospheric science at the University of Miami, one Benjamin Kirkman, said, quote, "You need to have a conversation about culturally, what are our priorities? Where do we want to invest? Where does it make sense?" End quote. And then he added this, quote, "These are what I refer to as generational questions. And there's a tremendous amount of reluctance to enter into that discussion." End quote. What he means, of course, is the people who make the decisions to put it simply, save Miami, are not people who are going to be around more than, a certain period of time, and it will pass to descending generations or future generations to enjoy the full benefits, if there are any, of building a 6-mile long, 20-foot high wall to hold back the Atlantic Ocean? Oh, right. That'll work. No, it won't. But since we don't think in terms of, oh my God, this is something that we are in the process of dealing with globally. I mean, I saw a YouTube video the other day about the economic boom for certain parts of Siberia. Yeah, because the ice in the region of Siberia, in the Arctic oceans, is melting at such a rapid degree, and it's making available, you're going to love this, it's making available oil and gas buried under the ground, buried under the sea, that heretofore has been unavailable to Russian development. Now, Vladimir Putin, the Nazi who heads Russia, he doesn't give a fuck about generational stuff. He doesn't care about, well, global warming, yada, yada, yada. Not even a bit. But Russia doesn't make anything. The only way the Russians have money is from exporting natural resources, just tearing up everything. And they have the biggest country on earth to tear up. But back to Miami. So the people of Miami are now faced with, have been warned about. The people in this country, the people all over the earth have been warned about. This is happening. It is not theory. And no matter what the Christian fascist slime say about this, it doesn't matter. Their bullshit God is not going to protect them. This is happening. So what do we do about it? Well, we know the answer. We know the absolute answer, and we're not going to do that. So back to the piece in the New York Times. See, Miami is the U.S. metro area that is perhaps the most exposed to sea level rise. And the problem is not just climate change denialism. I mean, the folks in Miami, even the Republicans down there, they know what they're facing. Now, the other thing they have, and it began this week, is hurricane season. Comes back every year, but it comes back with more intense and more frequent storms, which is a direct result of global warming. And they're not involved in their denialism because flood insurance has become increasingly difficult and unaffordable. Or when the nights in Miami stay so hot that leaving the house with a sweater, I can remember that, to fend off the evening chill in that part of Florida, that's a thing of the past, bro. That's not going to happen anymore. The trouble is that the magnitude of the interconnected obstacles that South Florida faces now can feel overwhelming. And none of the possible solutions is cheap or easy or pretty. The possible solutions are expensive, difficult, and scary as hell. Now, who do you suppose are going to suffer the most when a decision is made as to how to combat rising sea levels in South Florida? See, eventually, and this is just a true statement, it's not wild-eyed bullshit coming from your humble and obedient servant here, but eventually Florida won't be there. No, seriously. Most of Florida is at sea level to begin with, certainly from, Orlando on down, maybe even further north, all the way down. The first to go will be the Keys. And then the low-lying areas of South Florida. Okefenokee Swamp will just become a memory. And eventually Florida will not be there. Now, nobody wants to turn away a penny from Washington, not even these Christian fascists. But this proposal, according to the New York Times, for a massive seawall along one of Miami's most scenic stretches has produced a rare moment of agreement between environmentalists and real estate developers, the scum of the earth, especially in South Florida, the absolute scum of the earth, the real estate developers. They don't give a shit about any of this. Are you kidding? Except for the fact that the environmentalists fear the destruction of the bay's delicate ecology, and the real estate slime are worried about lower property values. That's all they give a shit about, lower property. Well, I don't know about this. Well, maybe we should do something. Ken Russell, the Miami City Commissioner, whose district includes Brickell, that's the financial district, he said, the $40 billion in assets you're trying to protect will be diminished if you build a wall around downtown because you're going to affect market values and quality of life. It just cracks me up when these when these developmental assholes talk about how if you try to save the environment, if you try to save the planet, if you try to stop global warming, if you try to stop the rising, if you try to, you're going to affect quality of life. What are they talking about? Not to do something will seriously affect the quality of life. Not this guy, not Ken Russell. I mean, he'll be dead and gone, and probably all of his offspring by the time Florida disappears. So why does he give a shit? So the situation in Miami, where it concerns the Atlantic Ocean, the situation in Florida, where it concerns the Atlantic Ocean on one side, the Gulf of Mexico on the other, is not very enviable, is it? Because, sure, they can build their walls. But the thing about building a 20-foot high wall is what's underneath the wall. What's down 10 or 15 or 20 feet? Are you going to extend the wall down 20 feet or 30 or 40? How are you going to deal with sandstone underneath the surface of the state of Florida? But apparently that's not talked about in terms that would make it logical or reasonable to deal with. And in fact, when local governments there have asked the public how they would like to tackle climate change, people live down there, by far, prefer what is known as green infrastructure, which is layered coastal protection from a mix of dunes, seagrasses, coral reefs, mangroves. That's according to a person named Zelalem Adifris. That's her name. She's the vice president for policy and advocacy at Catalyst Miami, which works with low-income communities in that county. She said, quote, the plan by the Army Corps of Engineers just looks so different. It seemed to be really incongruous with the conversations that are being had locally. But see, that's always what happens. The people who live in the areas, I'm not talking about the rich assholes, the people who have homes and live there for certain reasons, maybe live there for generations, maybe for hundreds of years. They see the way to deal with this would have been first to prevent it to begin with, but now use sand dunes, use mangrove swamps, use coral reefs. Work with nature, which takes me right back to what Brother Dave said at the beginning of this program from the National Geographic website. Not dominion over nature, cooperation with. Try to tell that to the Christian fascists. Go ahead, I'll wait. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.